Artificial intelligence, it feels like you hear about it everywhere, right? It's in the news, it's on our phones, and it's definitely changing our world. But what is it, really? Well, today, we're going to unpack the whole thing, from the basic ideas to the incredible tools it's building right now. Let's dive in. So let's start with a puzzle. Imagine you're in charge of a smart city. You've got 10,000 cameras out there, all trying to keep people safe. How on earth do you watch all of them at once? How do you know where to focus? And this isn't some sci-fi scenario. It's a real problem that needs a seriously powerful solution. And that solution, yep, you probably guessed it, is artificial intelligence. It's the only way to make sense of all that chaos and turn it into something useful. So let's start right at the top with the big picture. What exactly is AI? Okay, at its most basic level, AI is all about building tech that can do things that normally require a human brain. We're talking about learning from experience, spotting a pattern and a ton of information, or making a smart decision. It's all about teaching computers to think, but on a scale and at a speed we just can't match. So what's AI actually made of? Well, you can think of it like baking a cake. You need three key ingredients. First, you need the recipe. Those are the algorithms, basically the instructions. Then you need your ingredients. That's the data, all the information the AI learns from. And finally, you need an oven, the computing power to actually process everything. You gotta have all three for this to work. And, while AI feels like this brand new thing, its story actually started way back in 1956. But look at these milestones. In 97, a machine beat the world's best chess player. That was all about raw calculation. Then in 2011, a computer won Jeopardy, which meant it could understand tricky human language. But 2016, that was a game changer. Beating a Go champion showed that AI could handle something that feels more like intuition. Each step was a huge leap forward. So AI is the big umbrella, but what really drives most of the AI we use today is something more specific called machine learning. And this is where it gets really interesting, because this is where the machine stops just following orders and actually starts to learn for itself. Machine learning is pretty much what it sounds like. Instead of a programmer having to write code for every single possibility, they just feed the machine a whole lot of data. The machine then teaches itself to find patterns in that data and uses those patterns to make decisions about stuff it's never even seen before. It's really just a simple, powerful loop. First, it chews through huge amounts of data. Then it starts to see the hidden connections and trends. And finally, it uses what it learned to make predictions. And it's not a one-and-done deal. The more data it gets, the smarter it becomes. It's always learning. I believe me, you are using this stuff all day long, even if you don't realize it. You know when your email inbox just magically knows what's spam? That's machine learning. Or when Netflix is a little too good at suggesting your next binge watch? Yep, that's it too. And when your bank texts you about a weird charge, that's machine learning protecting your account. Okay, so if AI is the big concept and machine learning is the part that learns, what's next? Well, now we go deeper. We're getting into a really advanced type of machine learning that's actually modeled after the most amazing computer we know of, the human brain. And that's deep learning. The deep part is key. It refers to all the different layers in its neural networks. Think of it like how we see things. The first layer might see just pixels, the next layer identifies shapes and lines, a deeper layer might see an eye or nose, and the final layer puts it all together and says, hey, that's a face. Each layer gets a little bit smarter, a little more abstract. So what's the real difference here? Well, it pretty much boils down to scale and complexity. Regular machine learning is perfect for things like recommendation engines because it can work with less data. But deep learning, it's hungry. It needs huge amounts of data to train all those complex layers. But that's exactly why it's so good at incredibly hard stuff, like understanding what you're saying or finding a specific person in a photo. Think about it. When you talk to Siri or Alexa, that's deep learning turning the sound of your voice into a command it can understand. Or when your Photos app automatically tags all your friends in your pictures, that's deep learning too. It's the magic behind the technology that feels the most natural to use. So far, we've talked about AI that can understand and analyze things that already exist. But what happens when AI starts to create something totally new? This brings us to the latest and honestly the most mind-blowing chapter in this story, generative AI. Generative AI flips the whole thing on its head. Instead of just finding patterns, it uses what it learned from all that data to generate brand new, original stuff. It can write an email for you, compose a piece of music, or dream up an image of something that's never existed. The machine is now a creator. And what it can create is just wow. We're not talking about one little trick. It can generate stunning visual art, write entire stories, come up with new product designs, and of course, it can hold conversations that feel incredibly human. It's like having a brainstorming partner for pretty much anything. And if you want an idea of just how fast this has taken over the world, look at this number. Over 180 million people use ChatGPT. The speed at which everyone jumped on board is like nothing we've ever seen before. It just shows how hungry we all are for these new kinds of tools. And this isn't just about creating fun pictures or writing poems. The power of these systems is absolutely staggering. I mean, the fact that ChatGPT 4 can score better than 90% of humans on a test like the SAT, that tells you all you need to know about how well it can process and use information. Okay, so we've gone from the big idea of AI down through machine learning into deep learning and all the way to this wild new world of generative AI. Now let's pull back and see what this all means for us right here, right now. Remember that city with 10,000 cameras? Well, with AI, that impossible problem becomes totally solvable. It can watch all of that video at once, flagging incidents the second they happen so that people can respond faster. It turns a giant headache of data into a real tool for making our communities safer. And this change is happening literally everywhere. In banking, it's catching fraud. In medicine, it's helping doctors spot diseases earlier in scans. In almost every job, AI is becoming a kind of co-pilot. It handles the boring, repetitive stuff so that we can focus on the bigger picture and make better decisions. Which brings us to the final and maybe the most important question of all. This technology is moving at lightning speed. As it gets more powerful and woven deeper into our daily lives, the real challenge is figuring out how to guide it. How do we make sure these amazing tools are fair, that they respect our privacy, and that they're ultimately accountable to us? That's not a question for someday. It's the conversation we all need to be having right now.